History often remembers dictators as men who rose to power with fire and fury, but Augusto Pinochet, the man who would one day seize an entire nation, moved like a shadow. Born in 1915 in Valparaiso, Chile, Pinochet was the son of a modest customs official. He lived a disciplined life, graduating from military school in 1937 and spending decades building a career as a professional soldier. Quiet, loyal, and seemingly without ambition beyond the army's walls. When Chile elected the socialist president Salvador Allende in 1970, the country became a battleground of ideology. Social reforms thrilled the poor and terrified the rich. Inflation soared, tensions boiled. The nation drifted toward chaos. Amid this growing storm, few noticed Pinochet's silent rise through the ranks. In August 1973, he was appointed Commander-in-Chief of the Chilean Army, a man many believed to be apolitical, cautious, and controllable. They were wrong. Only a month later, on September 11, 1973, the military struck. Backed by foreign powers fearful of communism's spread, Pinochet led a coup d'etat that ended Chile's democracy and President Allende's life in a hail of gunfire. The era of Augusto Pinochet had begun.
Pinochet's promises were simple: order, stability, prosperity. But he would achieve them through blood and terror. In the days after the coup, thousands of Chileans, workers, students, writers, unionists, were rounded up. National stadiums became open-air prisons. Torture centers sprang up across the country. Under Pinochet's rule, more than 3,000 people were executed or disappeared. Tens of thousands more were tortured or exiled. Families lived in constant fear, knowing a knock at the door could mean the end of everything. The generals suspended the Constitution, banned political parties, and ruled by decree. Opposition was crushed. Freedom of speech was silenced. Chile had traded its democracy for the iron fist of a man who spoke softly but ruled with violence.
While repression gripped the nation, Pinochet and his advisors, the so-called Chicago Boys, launched radical economic reforms. They slashed public spending, privatized industries, and opened Chile's markets to the world. For the wealthy and foreign investors, Chile became a paradise. Luxury returned to Santiago's elite neighborhoods. Economic growth accelerated, at least for a privileged few. But beneath the glittering surface, millions of ordinary Chileans lived in poverty, struggling with skyrocketing unemployment and disappearing social services. Pinochet crafted the image of a strong, successful nation, but it was a nation built on fear, silence, and brutal inequality.
By the mid-1980s fests, the world had begun to turn against him. Stories of torture and disappearances leaked into international headlines. Mass protests erupted across Chile, demanding democracy, dignity, and justice. Pinochet's once fearsome grip began to slip. Under mounting pressure, he agreed, reluctantly, to a referendum in 1988. He was confident he would win, but the Chilean people, after 15 years of darkness, spoke clearly. No. The spell was broken. Pinochet was forced to step down as president in 1990, but he remained commander-in-chief of the army for another 8 years and later declared himself a senator for life, desperate to cling to power and immunity.
In 1998, while visiting London, Pinochet was unexpectedly arrested under an international warrant, charging him with crimes against humanity. The world watched in astonishment as the once untouchable general faced the threat of justice. After a long legal battle, Pinochet was eventually allowed to return to Chile on health grounds, but the floodgates had opened. Court cases mounted. Investigations revealed not only his human rights abuses, but also secret offshore bank accounts filled with millions of dollars he had siphoned away. Augusto Pinochet died in 2006 without ever being convicted. He left behind a nation deeply divided between those who saw him as a savior and those who knew him as a monster.
Today, Chile still struggles with the shadow of Pinochet's rule. Memorials to the disappeared dot the cities. Debates over his legacy continue to ignite fierce passions. Some praise the economic stability he left behind. Others can never forget the lives shattered, the dreams crushed, the democracy that was stolen. Pinochet's story stands as a chilling reminder. A nation can surrender its freedom, not with screams, but with quiet promises of safety. And once lost, that freedom is never easy to reclaim.